So we all know Leo is a shell of his former self with the coming of season 2. And honestly, it's a real shame because I feel like Leo is a target of most patches with these nerfs and these subpar buffs. I remember all the way back in season 1 when they nerfed the speed of his crosscut to make it easier for people to react to, but subsequently also nerfing his 2D knockdown setup for his Brian Hunter stance. Due to the added recovery, it made the timing really strict to go into his back turn stance, and a 2-frame throw, Leo's worst nightmare. Although there were like counterplay to with backdash, it didn't matter because he was still susceptible to other wake up options, DPs and specials. There was really no safe way to go in his back turn stance besides throwing the opponent. And then with season 2, that got even worse with the increasing the recovery of his 2D, not only making it super punishable, and then had the nerve to label it as a buff because it lunges at opponents now. But why would you even want to throw out 2D if it's punishable? And even if you do land it because of the increased recovery, now you can't even go into your stance fast enough where you could attack due to the wake up throw being 2 frames. It beats your fastest move, which is I think 5k in stance. And then on top of that, nerfing his turbulence by getting rid of his hard knockdown, which was his most reliable way to keep looping his back turn stance, taking away a ton of setups and said, here you go, crosscut can now cross up in the corner now. Who cares with these buffs? They're ridiculous. I'm getting mad. I'm ranting and it's getting like sidetracked. So here's like 4 tips you can use to improve your gameplay. So obviously they wanted to nerf the accessibility of the Brian Helder stance by taking away his 2D knockdown option and taking away his hard knockdown on his turbulence. Also, they changed the properties of his flash kick. Upon landing it, the opponent now lands closer to you, making it easier to go into your stance. And I think they did this intentionally. So like if you land the flash kick, you get back turn stance pressure. If not, you lose half your life. To me, that's a little unfair, but it makes sense. They want it to be a cost for you to enter your back turn stance, which led me to adopt like this turtle playstyle. Like I'll let my opponent attack my guard until I find a gap to exploit. Then once I land the flash kick, that's when I start playing aggressive. But I don't react every time I get a chance to exploit a gap. Just in case they want to bait out my flash kick. Like I'll pay attention to where they're playing. Sometimes the opponent will try to bait out your flash kick. Also, you want to work it into your combo using 2k, 6k flash kick. But the timing is a little strict on that. You just to do it on the fly. I would prefer if you do close slash 2s flash kick. Is a whole lot easier to perform. Utilizing 6p crosscut is the easiest way to go into your back turn stance, although it's not a true combo because they could block it, but the frames between 6p and crosscut are uninterruptible. Plus, if they block it, you're still +2, so we have the advantage. But nobody ever blocks it anyway because they're too busy mashing throws, so using 5p 6p crosscut and 5k 6p crosscut is a good way to take your turn back. So they changed the properties of his crosscut so that now you could cross up your opponent in the corner. And at first, honestly, I thought this was pretty useless because who wants to intentionally put themselves in the corner? But I think it's pretty good depending on the situation. I think it's beneficial for you to go in the corner to get back turn. I feel like that's where they were leading with this patch. Like for you to go in back turn stance, there has to be a cost. You have to give up a certain position or risk a certain amount of, it got to be a risk to go into back turn stance. And I feel like that's where they were going with this patch. But for instance, you could land 236S near the corner and then go into your back turn stance using crosscut, which was impossible to do pre-patch because if you use 236S mid screen, it would knock the opponent too far away, and obviously you couldn't cross up in the corner. And if you're worried about players mash and grab, I don't know how to describe this to you, but it's a distinct sound that the opponent makes when he rolls this thing up. right after they get knocked out. So you want to listen for that sound, and then you want to cross up immediately after you hear that sound. The timing is really strict considering you have to land it within 2 frames, a 2-frame window. Too late, too early, you'll get grabbed. So you can use my training method to get used to the sound and timing by using crosscut into crosscut repeatedly until you get the timing down. This will give you access to a whole bunch of mix-up options. Lastly, with the changes of Turbulence, with them taking away the hard knockdown, you lose access to a handful of setups. But surprisingly, all my OTG setups that I used prior are still there. I just had to adjust the timing for them standing right back up. Also, you can no longer do left-right mix-up, which I never really used anyway because I always preferred heavy projectile. Like, some things I like to do with heavy projectile is I use heavy projectile, Roman cancel, jump over the opponent, which will cross up their guard. So when the heavy projectile hit them, they'll have to switch their blocking. And then after that, I'll do numerous things like dust, 2K2D, go back into my stance. But you can no longer do that stuff due to them taking away the hard knockdown. But you can simulate some of the pre-patched mix-ups using Roman cancel. What I like to do is I like the red RC upwards, then you can whiff a crosscut to go into stance, and then the red RC will give you a hard knockdown, which gives you access to pre-patched mix-ups, but at a cost of 50 meter. Plus, I'll also like to use my meter by like canceling 5K into BRC, and then you can do like a close slash into crosscut uninterrupted. So sometimes you're just gonna have to pay to get into back turn stance.